Can you tell us also that how did you first get into tech?
Yeah, so I got into tech through the support side of the house, just because it's kind of low barrier to entry tech role.
Since you mentioned that you started your career as a technical support specialist, right? So I wanted to know what were some key skills you developed during the support role that kind of helped you during, in your entire career.
Yeah, I think when I try to think back, there are many things that I learned because it was my first role in tech, but three skills I would say that stood out to me was the
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of Tech Exploration Hub. And I'm your host, Khushbu Sheikh. And today I have here with me Rishab Kumar, who's working as a developer evangelist at Twilio. And I'm very enthusiastic and excited to hear about his experiences, to learn his career trajectory and how he reached into this position. So before we begin, I just wanted to, I wanted Rishabh to just give a brief introduction about himself to us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm Rishab. I work as a developer evangelist here at Twilio currently. I've been in the industry for almost 8 years and started my career in tech support. When I'm not at my desk, I am usually at a soccer field or a volleyball court, and I love to be outdoors, so a lot of trekking, and also hiking and running. But yeah, that's a bit about me. I also have a few open source projects that I like to contribute and also like creating technical educational content on the site.
So, can you tell us also that how did you first get into tech?
Yeah, so I got into tech through the support side of the house, just because it's, you know, kind of low barrier to entry tech role. And I don't have a computer science degree, so it made sense. I did go to college to get my computer networking and tech support diploma. So it was a 2 year program where they teach you like the fundamentals of computer networking and how operating systems work. So I guess tech support was kind of this path that was like, oh, this should be, it's feasible and doable. And yeah, started in support. I was helping customers with, so I worked for a SaaS company, so was helping customers with that said SaaS, with any kind of technical support.
So, since you mentioned that you started your career as a technical support specialist, right? So, I wanted to know what were some key skills you developed during the support role that kind of helped you during, in your entire career.
Yeah, I think when I try to think back, there are many things that I learned because it was my first role in tech, but three skills I would say that stood out to me was the ability to translate complex technical concepts into a language that anyone can understand, because some customers might be very tech savvy, but then you had customers who were trying to figure out how the software works, and having that ability to translate those complex topics to a non-technical user, I think really helped. And that's where I developed this passion for teaching technical topics. The second was, I think, pattern recognition. Um, I think within like 5-ish months within the role, you start seeing that most of the users will have similar issues.
Mm.
So the ability to recognize those patterns, and then you take it a step further by documenting it for other tech support people and for yourself as well. So the third would be the documentation discipline. To this day, I'm a huge, advocate of documenting everything. So I think documentation comes from a lot of
True.
how I built that skill comes from my technical support time. I would just add like a plus fourth. One is empathy. So like
Mm.
empathy for the end users, understanding why they are frustrated and how you can help them with their frustration.
Mm.
And I think that helped later on during my engineering roles, with like designing developer experiences and things.
Got it. Yeah, actually, very relatable because I also come from like a customer support background and I'm a TAM, so still supporting customers. So I think I can relate to it very much. So thank you for covering that, summing that up actually. So moving forward, I wanted to know like why, how, and why did you decide to move from a support role into a DevOps role?
Ooh, that's a good one. So for me, I did tech support for almost a year, or like just few months more than a year.
Okay.
To be honest, I loved support because, it was me starting my journey in tech, but I also knew that is not where I want to spend the entirety of my career. So I think what happened is I would dig very deep into, so I'm very curious as a person. So sometimes when the issue was also beyond my role, because this was a SaaS that was using AWS. Just out of curiosity, I would dig into like why this specific case or ticket needed escalation, and then would shadow, the cloud engineers and the DevOps engineers and see how they would fix it within the cloud environment. And that curiosity, I think, led me to, discovering cloud provider like AWS and then building projects and understanding how this SaaS was using all the different services within AWS. So ultimately, I was like, okay, I have been doing support for a year. I want to, have a more challenging role. So I decided to shadow software engineers at a company, cloud engineers, and um, also front-end engineers. So ultimately, I decided, okay, I think cloud makes the most sense for me because of the background I have with support and the network engineering skills that I had.
True.
So I decided to, yeah, just learn the cloud provider in and out, and how this company was using it. So
Okay.
it was a very natural transition, and I expressed my interest in, hey, I want to, you
Mhm.
know, manage the cloud infra, and they had a head count, so I was able to transition from tech support to cloud, and
Okay.
then ultimately after 2 years in cloud, I moved to DevOps because I was working on a lot of, the automation side of things. So, infrastructure as code, release pipelines with CI/CD, and bringing a lot of that initiative to the team.
Okay.
So the company decided it was better to move me to a DevOps role.
So, like, what advice would you have for someone like me who's in support role, who want to move into a DevOps role? Like, if there's any advice.
That's a good one. I think looking back, there are always skills that can translate from your previous role to your next role. Specifically from support, I think the the underlying understanding of how you troubleshoot, I think helps a lot. It did help me a lot. You are very reactive, so there needs to be a mind shift, I think, from being reactive, which is, fixing issues and fixing problems, to being proactive, which is, preventing them in the first place. I think that was one shift that I needed to bring in like my brain. What other advice? I think when it comes to tools, they don't matter that much the underlying tech matters.
Congress. Right.
So,
Yeah, it's ultimately like once you have those skills, you can learn the tech part, right? Like, but you have to have these skills that kind of helps you to make that transition. That makes sense. And also, like I've seen that you transitioned from a DevOps role to a technical solution specialist role into Google. Like, how did that opportunity come about?
ooh, I think it was a very natural kind of, someone reaching out to me and saying that, hey, you know, they think I'll be a good fit for this role at Google. And at that time in my career, or even before that, I think I definitely wanted to see how it is working in big tech and like to experience that. Um, Up until I think 2018 or even 19, I didn't think it was possible because, I don't have a computer science background and like I always doubted that a big tech company would hire me. So once that opportunity kind of showed up, I was like, oh, okay. And, I come from a technical support background. I have these cloud skills now. I have the DevOps skills now under my belt. Maybe technical solutions is something that I want to do. So it was ultimately, supporting GCP customers with their architecture and solutions on GCP. And yeah, very natural. It was around 2020, 2021 when, COVID hit and there was a huge hiring spree, I would say. So it was preparation meeting like the timing of things. So the opportunity came, I felt prepared, and I think I just went for it. And obviously, the jump from being, a DevOps engineer at a smaller and a medium-sized company to being at technical solutions uh, on the technical solutions team at Google meant different things,
Yeah.
both,
Sure.
lifestyle-wise, career-wise, and also culture-wise.
Yeah, that was a great move, and I think you kind of covered the next question that I kind of had about the solution specialist role. So let's move on to like your current role, developer evangelist. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm very very keen to like learn about this
Hmm.
role. For people who may not know about this role, I've not heard about this role like in the
Mhm.
past. I think it's a very recent one, right? So I want to know more about like what is this role. Um, how is it unique and all of those things? Yeah.
For sure. I think the naming of it can be different in different organizations and companies. So the bigger umbrella is or developer relations. So some companies call it developer advocates, the others call them developer evangelist, and then you will also see developer relations engineer as the title. But ultimately, I feel like it's a role that was made as a bridge between the company and the developer community. So think about product companies, API companies, SaaS, where their main consumer is going to be a developer. You need someone who acts as a representative of that community and can advocate for them. Hence the title having advocate or evangelist in it. So essentially, it's a bridge. I would also say it's not something new. I think like Twilio has had a DevRel team, as far as I know, like they were very popular in 2016, 17.
Okay.
Um, so, and similarly, if you look at GCPs or other like Vercel, other companies there where consumers are going to be developers, they
Mhm.
usually have a good developer relations team and like
Okay.
good amount of developer advocates working.
So
So I
it,
represent, sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying, so is it like kind of a mix of a developer plus a marketing role? Like, I mean, that's what it seems like because I've seen you attending a lot of events. So is it like part of your role to attend these, big tech events?
Yeah, definitely. So it's more of, I would say there's, it's kind of marketing to developers, but in an authentic way. So I represent Twilio to the developer community, and that can be through conference talks, workshops, tutorials, GitHub samples, um, you know, yeah, you name it. So any channel or platform you can think of. So, developer conferences is one. Um, I'll or someone from my team would be representing a talk or a workshop there because we know that there are developers who will be attending it. Similarly, if you think of blogs, GitHub, communities where developers are uh,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out or are present, you can see us engaging with them on
Okay.
those channels.
So I do see you have like a brand, for yourself.
Mm.
And I see that you have started building it like long, I believe, some time ago before even you got in this role, I believe. But then is it like important for being into that role? Is it important that you have to build a brand because you said that you have to
Mm.
be a part of the developer community? So like, what do you think?
I don't know if it's important, but I know for me it definitely helped. Like that is how I landed this opportunity or even knew this role existed. So 2021-ish, I believe, um, COVID hit, so I had a lot of time in 2020, right? Like everyone else, I was stuck in my apartment. So I started writing technical content. So my first medium of where I produced content was all written, and I enjoyed it. And then I was trying to improve my public speaking skills at the same time. And that's where the idea of, you know, recording myself on a video and improving on how I speak came. And then one of those days, I realized there was this really cool AWS demo that I was doing for the company where I worked as a DevOps engineer. And I thought maybe the community can, you know,
Benefit. Yeah.
benefit from it. So I released it publicly, and that's how the first like YouTube video was uploaded. And then it was just,
I know.
I
It's
found it passed like, yeah.
like a passion. Yeah, got it. So like, what exactly made you interested in this role? Like, how did you come across this and like what was your interest?
Yeah, I think, let me think about that. So I kept doing technical content on YouTube and written format for I want to say a year and a half.
Wow.
And that's when a recruiter from Twilio reached out. It's also funny how I found the role. So it was posted on Reddit for the first time that I saw a developer relations role. I
Mhm.
was going through a subreddit or something, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. You can be this, person who teaches people how a specific
Yeah.
technology works as a full-time job. Um, and I think again, it's all like about the timing and being prepared and the opportunity just showing up and you taking like that action on it. Um, so once I realized that, I'm like, okay, this developer evangelist sounds interesting. I want to explore developer relations, and I was also not so happy with how my role at Google was going at that time, so that also added to it. But ultimately, I felt like this was a perfect fit for me. And yeah, rest was like just going through the interviews, Twilio saying, yeah, I could be a great fit into this role. Um, but all of these skills that I learned,
Mhm.
both on my personal adventures, but also in the previous roles like support, so support taught me empathy for users and developers and translating technical topics and concepts. DevOps taught me deep technical credibility and how engineers think and work and
Mm.
real hands-on experience. The technical solutions role at Google, kind of taught me very deep customer-facing skills and understanding the business needs. And then I think each role kind of built this
The
layer on
stepping
layer.
stone, yeah,
Yeah,
for getting where you are. That yeah, that absolutely makes sense, and great job on that. Because I,
thank you.
I I looked into your your LinkedIn profile and I was like I was amazed and I was yeah it was great. And
Thank you.
I just also want to know because it says developer evangelist. I just wanted to clearly confirm you don't really work like a developer, right? Like a software engineer. Like your job duties are different. Do you like really work on fixing bugs and all of those things? Like, do you have as a part of your job or not?
Not directly on Twilio's API code or anything, but we do have tools and we do have platforms and stuff on the DevRel side as well, for which we are managing those. So, if the question is working on code that's not actually the product, but somehow developers are still consuming it. So, for example, we have a sister team here in Twilio under the DevNet org, who manages the docs platform. So if you go to twilio.com/docs, the entire platform is built by them. Um, so I think if the question is, do I code? Yes, I do code. It's just not a traditional SWE role, I would say,
Okay.
or a software engineer role where I'm contributing to the product um, strictly from code perspective. Um, if you're providing feedback, yes, we do that. If you're building with the product itself and providing feedback to the product team and the engineering team, yes, I do that often. A lot of the GitHub samples for, Twilio's voice with AI kind of thing, like, yeah, you build those out so that the community can, take inspiration and take those examples and build something of their own.
Okay. And what skills do you think are essential to succeed as a developer evangelist? Like,
Ooh, um,
I know you've
you
covered most of them actually, but then anything
if I
else?
had to break it down like into a list, I would say, and this is my opinion, every
Yeah.
DevRel person might have a different opinion. So I would say technical credibility. So you must be able to build, you know, whether it's software, whether it's
Cloud or like any technology.
whatever field you're in, you need to be technically credible in that. Second would be communication. I think I'll put these two in the top. So communication, just because you'll be writing, speaking, teaching,
True.
um, you know, content is a big chunk of the job. So make sure you can communicate very well. Authenticity as well. So I think developers are opinionated. Like, we have um, I find tradition like in general developers are very opinionated. So like if I prefer VS Code over any other IDEs, I'm gonna be very vocal and like very passionate about why I like VS Code.
Okay.
So you need to be authentic in your voice. Developers can spot the inauthenticity instantly, I think. So that's three. Fourth one would be curiosity. I think technology in the past has moved fast. Now it's moving at a very different pace. So you must learn, you know,
Hmm.
you must love learning and be curious.
Curious. Okay.
Um, the last one, I think this one is important but neglected oftentimes, is community mindset.
Mhm.
It's about helping like others succeed.
Hmm.
I feel like oftentimes people get, because there's this byproduct that your personal brand will also be growing with you being a developer evangelist or in being in DevRel. I think we still not forget that it's about helping
Yeah.
others succeed, and not more about the personal brand.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to also ask, like, your career journey includes like several transitions. I wanted to
Mm,
know what mindset kind of helped you navigate these changes.
that's a you have good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
what
Take your
mindset?
time. Think about it.
First of all, I was the growth mindset is
Mhm.
an easy one that comes to mind. Every role I think was a learning opportunity for me. It was not a looking back at my career trajectory, I can think of it this way. Like it was not a destination for me, at least for now. Every role kind of was a stepping stone to what was next. Um, Betting on yourself. I think very early on, I was investing um, a lot on learning,
Hmm.
whether it's time and the other one was money. So, making sure that you invest in some kind of skills. They don't have to be technical skills. Like it depends on what you aspire to be. If you think you're lacking communication skills or soft skills, you might invest into that. If you think it's the technical side of it, yeah, like bet on yourself. Um,
Hmm.
Building in public helped a lot.
Okay.
I think my work kind of created opportunities
Hmm.
for me because I was sharing stuff that I was doing in public. So let your work create opportunities for you.
Right. And I've seen you also participate in a lot of hackathons as well, right? I think that is also.
I try. I think hackathons is one of the things that I missed out on early in my career. I wish
Mhm.
I would have participated a lot. I had did zero hackathons in when I was in college, and then
Mm.
very late in my career, I learned about hackathons. So yeah, I would say it can be part of hackathons to build, but even
Mm.
if you don't participate in hackathons, with all these AI tools, you should
Yeah,
still be building in
building
public.
something. Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. And I want to know, like, looking back, which transition you think was the most challenging one for you?
Oh, I think support to cloud and DevOps.
Yeah, I was thinking
I
about the same.
yeah, I was just a 20-year-old um,
Mm.
freshly graduated kid who didn't know how the industry worked and was in their first role in tech and was trying to make the most out of it. I think with all the doubts and uncertainty I had in my mind, I think that was the
The challenging one.
most
And
challenging one.
yeah, I think, and I'm sure, like from support to DevOps, you had so much to like uncover and learn for yourself. I'm sure you must have invested a lot of time, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. And so, last but not the least, I want to know, like, what are you most proud of in your career journey so far?
Ooh. Um, what I'm most proud of. I think Learn to Cloud is going to be the first one. That's the neon sign you can see in the back. It's a open source project that has helped, um, a lot of people transitioning and getting into cloud careers. That was the goal with this guide. Um, Worked on it with my really good friend Gwen, who works at Microsoft as an advocate.
Mhm.
So the guide was built from our first-hand experience with not these non-traditional career trajectories that we have both had. So we don't have traditional college degrees, and we tried to transition. So she used to work at an Apple store and then
Wow.
ultimately became a sysadmin and transitioned into a cloud role.
Nice.
So it comes from first-hand experience and the mistakes that we made in our careers when we were learning cloud. And we try to build this guide that teaches you cloud in a structured and hands-on manner, and it's free. So I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of just from the impact side of things. Um,
So is it like a
yeah.
ebook like that you guys have created, or it's a video?
So earlier it was a static text-based open source guide that was on GitHub and then ultimately became a web app.
Nice.
Now it's a full-fledged curriculum that you can go through. So it has
Wow.
labs and things like that. So if you go to learn to cloud.guide,
Okay.
you'll sign in with your GitHub account and then you just start going through phases.
Wow, that's amazing. I would love to include that link when I share this video for sure. Like share it with me. And I just want to ask like any final advice that you have for like the viewers here before we like end the call, anything that you have in your mind. And especially with respect to like so much changing in the tech industry, like with the onset of AI, like anything that comes to your mind.
Ooh, I think bet on yourself and be a risk taker. I think it's and then building on it. So betting on yourself. So if you think you want to achieve something, it can be as crazy of a goal as you can think of. Don't let the beliefs and perceptions and perspective you have from your past kind of limit what you can achieve. So set like a crazy goal, and then just risk stuff to get there. I think it has become easier to do that with the amount of tools we have exposure to. So, think about a time when you didn't have social media. It was so hard to get eyes on something that you were proud of and you built and you could share with the community. Now with social media, it's easier
Sure. Yeah.
to share that. So I think leverage these tools and platforms to your power and the most amount of value you can get from them. And that goes with that, like anything, not
Yeah.
only just social media, but like AI coding tools
Mm.
and um, content and like uh, other stuff as well. But yeah, I think that would be like my final advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rishabh. I think this was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming, for your time. I mean, I absolutely enjoyed and loved everything that you've said in the video. So, like, thank you so much for your time again, and see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kushbu, for having me.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
Like.